So what I'm going to go over today is early extension and how I coach a player out of getting early extension. And I've got a student here. She is 15, and on the left is a swing I took at the end of January. And the swing on the right is nearly 4 months to the day later at the end of May. A lot of people will try and fix early extension only through the downswing or in the transition into the downswing. However, in this case, I'm actually going to start from the beginning and start from the very beginning of changing your swing from the setup into the backswing to start eliminating the early extension. Now, the one thing about when you're teaching juniors is, especially at this age, they are the most pliable that they're ever going to be in their life. Even a junior who doesn't really stretch or focuses on stretching is still going to be much more flexible than, say, a 40-year-old or 50-year-old. It's just the way the body is. So let's take the left, and you can see what I've done in the setup is she was very crouched over, hands very, very low. You can see the toe of the club is up in the air, and her hands are hinged there at the thumbs. Okay. Now you can see on the right, made her stand up a little bit taller, hands a little bit higher. They're still right underneath her, but now you can see the club face. I mean, the bottom of the club is resting solidly on the ground. So let's go over here to the left. And as you can see, the one thing that I see in a lot of juniors and a lot of players is this need to keep that back leg or their trail leg very stiff. It's not going to move. It just stays stiff. Now what happens is that club will get inside, but then as you can see here, watch how that hip starts to get straightened or extended. And now we're going to start tipping over into our left side. We're never going or into our lead side. And then just pick up the hands. Now, she is already leaning into her lead foot. Look at her lead heel there. It's already coming off the ground. Those hips are tilted to the left. Now it looks, pretty good. And you can see how much width she has and extension she has at the top. But look how that heel is off the ground. That's only going to lead to then trying to readjust. We're going to have to readjust on the downswing. And in her case, she just fires her right leg. It's come off the ground. But now, because she was already so far in her left side and those hips haven't kind of recentered themselves, they're already going to be ahead. Now we get some push with the right. We got to stay. The lower body's pushing, but now the upper body has to stay back to catch the ball. And now look at that right hip fire, gets out in front. She shallowed it out pretty good, but with the early extension, she gets too shallow. She almost drops it down too far behind her. Now it will come from the inside. Now we're all hands. Not only that, but it comes out extremely low. And now look at this area right here, how much her pelvis is extended forward. So being 15 and at the time of her developmental life, she's starting to get a lot of back problems, lower back problems. And this is why when you're this twisted up and kind of coiled up, kind of like a willow tree almost, and you're pushing, the back is taking a lot of strain, especially as you're a young adult developing anatomically. You're gonna get a lot of lower back injuries this way. Now we're gonna come through. We're hanging back. Now this was a great look in the 90s, back in the 80s and 90s, and that's why all the players growing up in the 80s and 90s have back problems. We're leaning back, twisted up, but look at where her back is in relation to her, basically her butt there. I mean, her shoulders are behind her butt. So we're really twisted up, leaning back, trying to make up for it. Okay? And you can kind of see in the simulator there, I was just pointing to the left and came out at 17.8. And I think this was an 8 iron, so that's pretty low, especially for a female when she doesn't produce enough speed to get a lot of spin. That's pretty low coming out, so it's going to be a low dart left. Okay? So now let's go over to the fix. So let me go back here to the front and kind of do a side by side. So again, change the setup, got a little bit taller. Now, I always like to teach my players to really feel that the swing kind of starts and the trail foot presses up and then tosses the club back with that right hip or that trail hip. So we're going to go back here. I watch her. You can see how she's pressing down. See, watch her knees. They kind of press down. Right there, we're going to get set. Now we're going to toss. Now look at how her hips are now opening it. Now, is it a little inside? Sure. But look how we're getting that trail leg loaded. As opposed to the trail leg bracing, we're getting the trail leg loaded. Now when we go up, look at how her hip is now loaded. Come up here, raised up. Now, in a way, they kind of look the same going back. They kind of have the same look as far as the arms go. But you can see how she's even got that club a little bit further back on the right, even though her hands haven't really gone any further. But look at the difference in where her hip placement is. Look how she's loaded into that right heel. Now, if you compare the feet on the right and the left, you can see how she's really leaning into the toes of her left foot, more forward out into the center of them. Whereas on the right, they're kind of twisted, they've kind of leaned back to the left. They've been pulled over into the right side. So a drastic difference in the backswing and how she got there and what it looks like and how loaded it is. Again, we come here, she's going to fire that right side. Look how she's up on her toes, drops it underneath, and then kind of smothers it. Okay? We have worked very, very hard on getting her to press down into that foot and get it flat, then pushing through that left thigh first, which will pop the hip open, and then the club will drop down. Okay, so that's kind of the sequence we're looking for. Now she still tries to, push that right leg, but look how her hips stay back. I put this here. Look how much better she does rotating around. Now, she still gets on her front toes. She is a dancer by trade. She came from dancing. So that's going to be there. But look at how much better she is as far as the squatting and the pressing forward and keeping her hips stable. Okay? And when she comes down, she's in a much more neutral position at this point in the swing. You can see here how she's shallow, but because she's pressing with that right leg, that back leg, that club's going to continue to drop down. Okay, so coming from a neutral position at this point in the swing is actually beneficial because then it won't get too shallow. Okay, that's sometimes what people forget is that when you get shallow and how you get shallow and the way your body's working, being shallow at this position in the swing can actually be a negative depending on if your club keeps shallowing out or if it stabilizes. If it's going to continue to get shallow, it's going to be a problem if it's where she is on the left side. Now we push, flip. Now her hands are always going to be fast, but look how where that club is there. Go back here. So that's starting to drop down. But look at how on the right side, hips are staying back still. Now look how that right hip, even though it jumped forward, it's jumping down the line. Okay? Here, it's jumping out towards the right. So there's that early extension. You can see on the left, you can see that left heel peeking up over her right heel off the ground. She has reestablished that left heel and on the right. Now we're pivoting. We still have that kind of twisted up look, and she does still tilt her hips. But look at how her left hip has stayed back. Over here on the right, it's starting to go forward. Look how she's kind of stalled out. Look at the difference where her hips are. You can see her hips are kind of pointed out to the right here. She is straight down the runway on the right side, on the right picture frame. So we have already cleared. It's going to come out much higher. Look at that finish right there in the feet. And now she comes around. Now she's not leaning back. Really good position there. We get here. Look how she is hanging back on her feet. Look at the difference in her feet now. Look at the different. When you look at the difference in her feet, look at how her left foot is completely flat, whereas on the right, she has gotten into the outside of her left heel, which is exactly where we want to be. Look at the difference in her right foot. And look how we've turned around. And now, let me clear all this line work out. She is straight up and down on the right side. She's turned around, but she is straight up and down. She's not leaning back so much. A much better look. She hits it much higher than she used to, carrying it out there a little bit further and getting it to stop. All that to say is we still have work to go on getting rid of the early extension. However, by us really working on one setup, the initiation of the backswing, the turning of the hip, and getting loaded into that right side, we have now begun the work of how to use the legs properly. And she's already started to diminish the amount of early extension significantly. So when you're working on trying to fix your early extension, make sure that you're starting from the beginning of the swing and moving forward, because much of your early extension is a result of stuff you're doing early in the swing and you're having to react to it.